welcome back to the workshop. The Pi has finally left the bench. A couple of you have asked me what was the RF converter I was on about, and it's this thing. So I thought I'd do a little video on where I got it from and what it does, and some of its more undocumented features that I realised after I bought it. So let's get into it and have a look. Okay, so a little bit about the setup I'm going to be using here on the bench this evening. This is the converter. Comes with a handset, nice little remote control handset there. Let's get a close up. It's one of those sort of generic things. Buttons are labelled VGA / AV, zoom. We've got up, down, left, right, menu button, mode and sys. Right, the converter itself. We've got a USB slot. Don't know what that does yet. Of course, we've got an HDMI port for our input. DC power, it's 5 volts. Consumes about 250 milliamps when running. And of course, aerial out. One shortfall, no composite video port out, which would have made a really useful solution. You could have just come out of there straight into an Aurora or a Hedgehog and got 405 lines as well. I reckon that would have been good. Sadly, it hasn't got that. Little port there, port window for the RF, and there's also an indicator LED under there. HDMI to RF, analog TV transmitter. I fed that lot into Google Translate and it says exactly the same thing. That's good. It comes with this 5 volt, 1 amp alleged power supply and RFI generator. It'll give us 5 volts for a few days, I would imagine. Awful thing. It's not going to get used for any length of time in my workshop. So there we go. I'm going to plug it into the DEF adapter up here, and we shall plug aerial socket into the back there. A bit of DC, and it comes up after initializing with a test pattern. Let me zoom in on the monitor. Oh, we've also got a laptop here, which I'm going to use to feed an HDMI signal in from its second monitor port. Let me zoom in on the on the monitor, so we can in fact have a little look at the menus. Right, menus. We've got horizontal size, vertical size, brightness. I should come back to all these in a minute. I'm just going to turn that brightness all the way up because as I demonstrated yesterday, that actually affects the sync when you're doing a conversion. So if you turn the brightness down, you tend to lose sync, certainly on the vintage sets. Contrast, self-explanatory. Saturation, yep, fair enough. Hue, okay. Sharpness, yeah, you can sort of overdo the sharpness. This is currently set to PAL I. I think this is a multi-standard set. Ooh, it doesn't make a very good job of NTSC. But there we go. It's at least making an effort. A PAL BG, of course, different sound carrier. DK, again, a different sound carrier. I don't remember what. Probably 5.5 megahertz and maybe 5 megs. Don't know. On-screen display background, you can make that invisible or have a black square around it. I think for the purpose of this video, I'm going to keep it on the black. Now, this is an odd one. When I bought this, it was a bit of an impulse purchase, and it wasn't a great deal of money. It was £11 on AliExpress plus tax and a bit of shipping, and I put it on a slow boat. Just after I realised this, I looked at the spec and it said it had 2 output frequencies, 67.25 megahertz, and I've already tuned this in, so bear with. There we go. 61.25 megahertz. So we do in fact have 2 frequencies there. Rest assured, this set is actually receiving UHF at the moment. And let me just see which channel we're on. So that's channel 1, which is UHF channel 31. And up the road on 60, whatever it was, 6125, that's that one. Up the road there, 67.25. is channel 38. And I'd seen a comment on Facebook, I think it was, with somebody that had one of these and said it was absolutely appalling on UHF, gave a really grainy picture, and my heart sank because I hadn't yet received it. Well, you can see that picture doesn't look grainy and poor to me. Indeed, it isn't. I thought maybe, you know, it was just an awful modulator, and what we were seeing in the UHF spectrum was in fact harmonics. That's not the case. And to prove this, I put it on the spectrum analyzer at work. Right, now 61.25. I'll put this screenshot up now. The spectrum analyzer, I was had quite a wide sweep, so the frequency isn't exactly there, but I've got markers. I've got 3 channels that are quite distinct here. We've got one on 62 megahertz, which is our 61.25 there. I've got one on 429 megahertz, and I've got a third one at 552. Now those last 2 figures correspond almost exactly to UHF channels. And right, if I go to our other set of frequencies, our other VHF channels, we've got 67 megahertz. Yeah, well, okay, near enough. Then I've got 472. Well, that's 470 megahertz. That's channel 21. So that's there. And the third marker is at 606, which is exactly channel 38. So the modulator in here is producing 3 distinct channels. It would appear a band 1 and then 2 UHF channels, which are perfectly usable. Very good indeed. So I've got no problem with its UHF use at all. Right. Okay. So let us give it some actual HDMI input. Now my monitor is already set up. You know what? Oh, just going to give this a chance to. Right. Okay. So there we go. That is our Ubuntu desktop, and I think it's this way. Oh, it is. So you can see it is a little washed out. Quite a lot washed out. Let me just try turning that contrast up. I think it was contrast that made sort of the biggest difference. Here we go. So let's take that contrast down a bit and the saturation up a little bit, I reckon. And I'll show you what these functions do on here. I'm just going to come out of the menu to start with. So we've got the 4 arrow buttons, which are used to navigate round the menus, but also they're used to shift the window down, up, left and right as you require, so you can really center in on those videos. So if I let's go to one of my videos, because I'm guaranteed not to get hit for copyright. I have to say it is a little grainy here. The signal isn't fabulous, but it's perfectly usable. And on a black and white set, you'd never know. The interesting thing I did notice is when it's just modulating its own stuff, you can see that's very crisp. The noise, the graininess appears to occur in the converter. I still reckon it's pretty much good enough. Right, so we can see that is filling the screen. We've got black bars top and bottom. Because of a 4x3 monitor, we're looking at a 16:9 bit of footage. So we can hit the zoom button, and that will zoom it in and out for that matter. So in fact, we want to shunt that. Just let's get it in the middle. There we go. So we can zoom, 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 zoom. Oh, missed it. Right, okay. So we want to get that to fill the screen as much as possible without stretching it. Of course, if we do hit the size, the horizontal size in the menu, we will distort that. But what we can do, of course, is take the horizontal size, that's horizontal, we want vertical, just to get rid of those bars. And then we can stretch this out again so it looks about right. Should that be 91 as well? I guess it should be. So yeah, there we go. Sharpness. It does improve things, I guess. I think it starts to look a little over sharp. That's not the best bit of video to look at. Let's spin on a bit, because that was horribly blurry when I recorded it. Isn't that typical? Oh, come on. There. Right. It's, again, pictures looking a little bit washed out and a little bit artificial. And I find that with all these converters. I've got one of these as well that I think we're all familiar with. Yep, none of those. They seem to do the same sort of thing. Turn the contrast right the way down. No, it's making it worse. Perhaps it does want a little bit less brightness. Oh, you see that's starting to peak up. Doesn't seem to generate the contrast required of a proper PAL image, perhaps. Yeah. So there we go. We filled a thing. I think it's perfectly good enough for a demonstration. You have to remember that is a 625 line picture, so I don't think it's bad at all. Just have a look at the effect of the sharpness on the meters there. Let me skip back. Yeah, it does over sharpen it. I think we've got far too much saturation in there now as well. Come out of there a bit. Saturation, of course, is the level of the colour. It just doesn't quite look right. It's better than many, but it's not quite there, is it? There's this interesting function which sort of gives you a left up, right bottom, normal setting. By the way, you'll notice we've lost our zoom when we come out of that. So let me come back into there, but we haven't lost our horizontal and vertical position. Oh, we have. Is there one more? There is. Anyway, there we go. You sort of got the idea of it. Yeah. So that's what it does. It's so much more adjustable than the ordinary boxes that we see on eBay all the time. And I've had 2 or 3 of these, and you know, I don't think I've ever bought one the same twice. They've all seemed to be more or less fussy and produce a different quality of output. But there we go. So that's quite useful. And of course, I've got an NTSC setting on here because I do actually own 2 American black and white sets. Not quite sure why we're getting so much rubbish on there. I suspect the set's very not happy with an NTSC signal. It's not designed to do it, or maybe it is. But anyway, it's come out of there. There we have it. Not a lot of money. Get rid of the power supply. Enjoy it for what it is, I think. There we are. Right. Oh, one other thing I suppose I better say. Let me just see if I can zoom out on here and zoom in on my laptop a little bit. Let me just get rid of that. Is what monitor settings it comes set with. Okay. So if I just go into my display settings here, and I'm just going to wheel the laptop in front, and we'll have a, oh, it's picking up reflections. There we go. That should work. Can you see that? I think you probably can. Northgate Computer Systems 13-inch monitor is what it is detected as. Resolution 1024 by 768, so it is detected as a 4:3 display. We can change the resolution, and I've got a sneaking suspicion unpleasant things happen when you try and do that. It becomes even more grainy. So it just goes to show it's not the RF side of the converter that's causing that grain. It's that. And refresh rate. It's a 40 or 60 hertz. So that's a set to 40. And again, all it's done is change the quality of the video. It's gone very dark now. So I'm going to revert that. So there we are. So there you have it. It's a neat little converter. It's not a lot of money. Oh, it's still in the wrong resolution. Yeah, it's in, that's because I'm trying to change that resolution. No, it's not. It's in the right resolution. Yeah, so it's not a lot of money. It's a bit of fun. And it's certainly a lot more adjustable than many other I've seen. So there you go. Right, enjoy, and I'll see you soon. Thanks now. Video, following on from the Pi 90, let's start this again because I've got the model number confused in my head. It's one for the outtakes anyway, isn't it?